Hello and welcome to another live with me, Jessica, from the Tunisian Crochet Graphghan Boutique. Today we are going to be talking about the TCAL event that we're currently in for the hexagon cardigan. So first I gave a download for everybody to be able to get. I made it in a PDF form. It's nothing fantastic. It's something I sketched, so don't have high hopes for this. So when you get your download from the group, it's just a sketch, and what you're going to do with that is you're going to take your sketch, and I am going to fold mine in half, and because this is going to be two different ideas. So with your sketch that I have given you guys to download, what you're going to do is, I know the writing's going to be backwards, but the first half is going to look like this. So y'all should have downloaded that, and if you haven't, I'll go over it a little bit. So what this has is a measurement A, B, and C. So A is the bust. What you want to measure is across the breast, where it's going to be the widest part, and you're going to need that measurement. Then you're going to need your length. Your length is going to be from your underarm down, and you can do this on yourself, or you can use a sweatshirt that you really like to wear, or a cardigan, top, whatever. And then that's going to give you the length, but you want to go from underarm down to where your seam is, because that you know, normally for length you would measure from here up, but since we're working and it's basically starting from the underarm, you want to get the length from here down. That's why you need that measurement. And then what you're going to need is your arm measurement, which is from the seam out to see how long your arm is going to be for the armhole. Okay, then you're going to write those down where it says A, B, and C. Then you're going to take your breast part and you're going to divide that into two. The breast part is kind of the most important part, because in the front you can add what's sometimes referred to as button ribbing to give closure. So you can have a little bit of room in there. You're going to want to add about an inch of ease to each one of these patterns. So whatever your overall measurement is. So if your chest, we'll say you have a 22 inch chest, then you're going to have an 11 inch measurement, because you're going to divide it into two, and you're going to add an inch because you want a little bit of ease in your back when you stretch. So that's going to go into a lot of this math, but basically what you want to do is figure out that math first. Then what you want to figure out is the questions that are over here. You kind of want to figure out what you want to do with this. So do you want a tapered cuff, or do you want a wide arm? Do you want a cuff at the waist, or do you want it to just hang straight? Are you going to want the button bust ribbing that goes around it? Those are the things that you're going to need to take into account with your math. And then you're going to look at the math that you figured out over on the side with A, B, and C. Now, here's where the math for A, B, and C comes in. This is all going to depend on what you want to achieve. So you're going to do your swatch, and you're going to figure out how many stitches and how many rows you have to an inch based on the yarn that you want to use. I know several people want to use different yarns, so that's why we're doing it this way, is so that you can go by your swatch and do your math and have what you want. Now, the biggest thing with using different yarns, Most number 4 worsted weight yarns, the average size hook is usually an H, which is a 5mm hook. To go up 2 sizes from that, which would have been a 6mm hook, and then for wearables, I like to go up 4 sizes. Well, if you go up 4 sizes, that's a 7mm hook. Not everybody has a 7mm hook, so I went with what everybody has, which is an 8mm hook. So everybody that has a set of hooks from Knit Pro, Knitter's Pride, Surella, you name it, there should be an 8mm in there, because a lot don't cover a 7mm. So what you want to do is figure out what you get the squarest gauge with. It's 4mm, or not 4mm, 4 sizes bigger than what you have on your yarn label. So for me, to 2 inches, I am getting 3 stitches wide and 3 rows. So you kind of want that squareness, because as you're working in a square, it's really going to elongate your pattern or offset it if you don't have the squarest gauge you can achieve. Does it have to be absolutely square? No. Tension, there's so much that plays into all of that. As long as you're close, that's what's going to matter. But what you're going to need to do is you're going to need to get your math for this. You can use your favorite sweatshirt, whatever. So what you're going to do is you're going to mark down your gauge. You're going to mark down what your plans are for your cuffs, your, and all of that. And then you're going to, mark off what you want here. Then you're going to flip this over. And this is where you're going to put your math at. And a lot of this depends too on a few different things. The standard hexagon, you're working all the sides the same number, so you're going to end up with a flared arm. And this measurement here, this measurement here, and this measurement here is all going to be the same. So this measurement is going to be this measurement. But I left this open because if you want cuffs, you can draw that on there. You can alter this and draw and sit and design this as much as you want, color it in, use a pencil, use a pen, print out 3 or 4 of these and mark what you want, and then throw away whatever and finish your final copy. But this is basically what you're going to use to write in. So if you want your cuffs, then you can draw your cuffs on here. This measurement for the regular hexagon is, all of these measurements are going to be the same. So you need to take into consideration what half of this is also going to be, this measurement, and this, this measurement. So, and the length. So you're going to need to figure out what measurement you need, because some people are more busty. So they're going to need, their longest measurement is going to be this. Some people, the arm measurement is going to be the longest. But if they do the longest arm measurement, then you're going to have to take into consideration what your bust is. So if you're smaller busted, you can always add to the arm, but you can't add, you won't be really adding to the bust area unless you do the thicker cuff. So this is what you're going to have to think about. And we're going to be discussing all of your questions. So when you do this paper, write down all of your questions, and then when I do another live, that'll be taken into account. Or if you can figure out what you're doing from there, because there's going to be a video and there's going to be a live. The live, I'm thinking about possibly trying to do another one on Monday. So if anybody has any questions, I'm seeing Lisa and Sherry and Angela and Cindy and Marion. I don't know if I have comments because, well, you know how Facebook is sometimes. Let's see. let's see. I don't see any comments, so if someone can leave a comment, then if not, I will answer everything later on since I'm not seeing them. So basically what you're going to do is you're going to download this. You're going to get your measurements and you're going to get your gauge. We talked about the gauge swatch. Like I said, if you're going to use the 4mm or the number 4 worsted weight yarn, then go in and you're going to use the 8mm hook. See if that gives you the squares gauge. If you have the 7mm hook and you're not getting the squares gauge, then you can go up or down depending on your math. But you'd probably have to, you know, you're just going to have to play around with your hook a little bit. The 8mm, I'm getting what I need. And you're going to draw on your pattern. Now, the other things to decide is, let me get this. Where's the other one at? In front of me. Okay. So, let me see. I don't want to add a link. This is making me upset that I can't see comments, but I will answer you afterwards, since I can't. So what we're going to do is you're going to make your hexagon. And this is what it's going to look like. Ta-da! And these edges here are mitered. And where the mitered edge is, you're going to fold between a mitered edge and get your pattern to square it off. And if you fold the wrong edge, then what you'll get is a section that sticks out like this. So you're going to kind of fold it so that the edge you started with and the edge you finish with is lined up, and that'll help you fold it. And what you're going to get is this half of the cardigan. Now, where all of the math and everything else comes into is you can change your cardigan in 2 ways. This seam here, that's going to need seam together, when you start out, if you did this longer, this area longer, that is going to give you a longer sleeve and a shorter cropped top. If you turn this and want your seam down here, so if you did this section longer, then this would still give you the big wide sleeve, but this would give you a longer area. So that is a bit where the math is going to come in. I will be talking about some of the math options because I know a bunch of you may want to play around with this and not do the square one. But to make it easy, we're going to be doing the square one to start off with, and then we'll do an advanced one after that. I don't want everybody like so completely confused about increases and where they're going to go and how difficult this pattern is, because we're going to be doing mitered corners, increases, and decreases. But they're pretty straightforward. So if you're working a decrease row, that's what you're going to be working for a whole side. If you're working an increase row, you're going to be working that for a whole side. It's the corners, I think, are the most, I don't want to say confusing, but the most difficult to remember. So I actually will write the instructions down for the corner, and then you guys can use that as well. When I do a small file for this, it's basically going to have gauge and a little bit of information, and it's going to have the corner information in it just to start, because I don't want everybody, I want everybody to kind of work at the same pace. Even though this is not going to start until the 15th, that gives you an opportunity to go in do your gauge swatch, work with your paper and figure out the sizing that you want, what sizing you're going to need. So like I said, for this one's going to be square, so you're going to need to decide underarm length and length, the arm length and the length, and you're going to need to figure out your bust length to see if this is going to be wide enough. And that largest number is kind of going to be the number that you're going to want to go with, because you want something that's going to cover your bust and your back, because you have to take that into consideration. If you have a smaller bust, then you can do the smaller and do a crop and do a shorter sleeve and then add your sleeves on. If you have the larger bust, you can ultimately work a cuff, or you can fold your sleeve. I actually will be, to add some design for mine, I'm actually going to take my cuff and fold my cuff under for a heavier cuff on one of the ones I'm making. I have several going on. So let's see. I really don't like when I don't want to kick myself out of here either. Let's see if that one works. I still don't see comments. I don't know. Anyway, like I said, I'll go back in and answer everything in a few minutes. But basically, you're going to want the math that you want to use. So the bust area, the arm area, and you don't want to go with necessarily the longest. If you go with the longest arm area, then this is really going to be open if you have a smaller bust. So I hope that all makes sense. Like I said, I will be answering questions in here, and I was thinking about several different things on this. With this block, you can either do striped, like I will be showing here shortly. You can do a small stripe design in the corner. You can do each one of these sections as a different color. There are so many options that are going to come along with this. You can also make up one of these small swatches like I have here, that's kind of Barbie doll size. And this way, when you look at it, you can decide things from there as well, like the kind of cuff you want to use. You could go in and start your cuff on the bottom of this to see if your gauge is going to match or whatnot. This is done by, I started with the stitch count of 11. It's 10 with the magic circle, which you can use the magic ring for this, or you can use a chain 4 and then close your chain 4 and work into that and put a stitch marker in that chain. I think that a lot of people are going to prefer the chain because working into that double magic ring, it is a pain in the backside, I'm finding. So I would do the chain 4 and work into the chain 4 and put your stitch marker in that chain 4. So let's see what else. So I am not finished with this side yet. When you do stripes, the things you're going to need to take into consideration. When you do stripes, and we have started this, this section here in our cardigan, This is where my stitch marker is, which is my double magic ring that I'm working into. When you work stripes, what you need to take into consideration is when you start your first row, I started in purple. Your corners will be the opposite color of what you started in, because you will be ending on, it's basically around a two, around, there'll be 2 stitches left. So, and this is an odd number. So when you start yours, take that into consideration. So when I am done with this and I seam my project together under the arms, I will be using black, so that is going to add that black row. So when I end in purple and I start in purple, that's going to give me the ability to add the black to finish. I will be adding mine in a Tunisian method, so I will be actually picking up stitches with black, and doing a black row, and when I do that, I will be picking up stitches and doing the black row, and it's going to join the 2 of these. This side up here, all of your pieces will line up, so it's going to be easy if you want to do stripes. I think stripes are kind of the easiest, in my opinion, for this pattern, because all of your stripes are going to line up. So when you are seaming this, you're going to see that you have all the black line up, all the purple line up, and they're every other stitch. So when you turn this inside out and you decide to seam it, then those stitches are going to line up and you're going to see every one of them. There's no way you're going to miss them. So as far as the easiest for this, the easiest I think is going to be stripes, if you do stripes. Now we've talked about color changes a lot in here. Color changes are going to be done on the return pass. So when you have 2 loops left on the hook after when you're doing your return pass, and you have 2 loops left on the hook, you're going to yarn over and pull through with a new color when you have 2 loops on the hook, and that's what's going to change. This will be locking bobbins in, so when you do your forward pass, you're going to twist it over, and when you return, you're going to twist it under, and that's going to carry it up the inside, and basically you're not even really going to notice that. It looks like the inside loop here, and I know this lighting is absolutely horrible, but I'm doing the best I can with what I got. So this loop here is for me carrying, and it looks like the loop up here, so you're not going to notice that as much. So once you have your gauge swatch done, what you're going to do is frog about 5 stitches, 10 stitches, whatever you want to use as your math. You're going to frog 5 forwards. You know, if you did a row, say your swatch you did was 10 stitches wide and 10 rows tall, when you frog that first row, you're going to measure that length of yarn, and that is going to give you the length of yarn in inches that you need per 10 stitches. So then you can divide that and break it down, or you can decide to just round up. I will be rounding up for mine only because it makes it so much easier to not have to figure all that out. So once you have your length and everything else figured out, I will be doing another page that's going to talk about how to do your math per stitch, because this has 6 sides. So we are going to figure out you're going to figure out one side. One side is going to be the length of the arm, or whatever you decided was going to be your mid-range math. So if you wanted the bust area to be the widest, that's going to be the math you're using. If you wanted the arm length to be the longest, but you know, this math here is also going to be this math here. So if I was to take this sleeve and fold it over, it's exactly the same. So you want that mid-range number of what's going to cover your chest, your arm, and this one, since the chest area on who I'm designing for is smaller, I went with a shorter. They're going to do a more of a crop top, so they don't want a cuff at the bottom. Do you have to add a cuff? No, you don't have to. Ultimately, from here, I could pick up these stitches and work them up and down, and it would blend right into this to add the length that I need. And then you could add the cuff. We're not adding length in this one. We went by the bust measurement because that is the best measurement that we needed. And with the bust measurement and the arm measurement, it's going to make the arm short. So we're going to be adding our cuff from there. Now, if you want a wide sleeve and your arm isn't long enough, you're going to pick up these stitches like a corner to corner entrelac, or any of the entrelac patterns. You are just going to open this up, your sleeve section. You'll mark it so that you know when you have this folded, you can take this and then open this up, and then you can just work those rows across. And you're going to be working this way because this is the way that your arm is going to, the way that the colors and the stripes are working. So that will give you the flared arm if you need it longer, and it's still going to match up. Or you could seam this and then start to work your cuff from there. Some of the things that you need to think about are the increases and the decreases. If you want a cuff, I would probably take the flat section and work a few rows in what I wanted to decrease stitches so that you would still continue with the same colors, but you're going to work them down so that your cuff kind of blends into it. What can you use for the cuff? You can use front post, back post, double crochets. You can use a slip stitch single crochet, or the slip stitch back loop only, and join those, and that's going to suck it down. It's going to depend too. You're going to need to think about the amount that it's going to pull your sleeve down, whether you want a balloon sleeve. There's a lot of things that you can do to change this to make this your own. Personally, I will be doing some decreases to make the sleeve a little narrower, and then I will be starting my cuff so it doesn't bring it down so much. Like I said, I'm sorry I can't see all the questions. It happens when you go live in the TCal for some reason, and I have no idea why it does it when you're in an event, because I even have questions enabled. And it's still doing this. So I don't know. So I hope that makes sense. I will be answering the questions. Also, when I go live next Wednesday, I will be answering questions over there too. So if for some reason you don't get something answered here, you can ask over there if you're done in time for that. And if you need me beforehand, please message me on Facebook Messenger. I will answer you. I have had some flooding because we have gotten so much rainfall in our area that some people's basements are underwater. Some have 3 foot. So I'm kind of dealing with that right now, but I'm desperately trying to keep up with this, and I know you guys tell me family first, which is exactly what I tell everybody here, and that you understand, but I just want to let you know that we do have some things going on here, so I apologize if I get behind, but There will be a live on Wednesday in the main group. That's our normal live that we have. And this, any questions you have that you posted under this that I didn't get to see, I will go in and answer each one of them individually. I will be doing videos for this whole section. Basically, you're going to need your math before you can start this. So that's everybody's homework that's doing this. I need to know, you're going to need to know what your math is going to be, because the math that I'm going to be using in the video is not going to work for everyone. It is going to be based on the size that I'm making, which I am going to consider a small because they are about a, I want to say about a 34-inch bust. So that is definitely going to be a small. So you are going to need your math for the different things. I probably will do an example of a, excuse me, I feel a sneeze coming on. I also will do an example of what like a 42-inch bust, or 40, yeah, about a 42-inch bust is going to require for the stitch count as well. So, and that'll kind of be like a large, extra large, kind of in between. So I hope that I answered everything that you guys would have asked. If not, like I said, I will check the comments when I'm done here, and I will go in and I will answer everybody individually. Please download your paper and go in and write down what your math is, and take into consideration your mid-range number, the number you want to use. So if your bust number is the largest, then you probably want to go with that, because you want something that's going to cover your back. If the arm length is what you want to go with, and the arm length is shorter, and you want to add a longer sleeve, but your bust measurement will work, you need to take into consideration what's the squarest number that you can work with to achieve what you want, and then add any embellishments like your cuff or a cuff down here, because this is going to be square. And like I said, the reason I started with the square first is because it's so much easier to start with the square for this as a beginner project and figure out what exactly you want to achieve with that. You can always add rows down below here, and you can always add length to the sleeve. And it's, like I said, it's going to be super easy to do that, especially with the striped, because you'll be able to follow those stripes straight down if you're not familiar with reading stitches. But like I said, the edges, with Tunisian, you have those little V's. It's super easy to pick up in there and work if you were working out any other way. So again, I hope I touched everything that you guys had asked. If somebody needs something or has questions or anything, please do not hesitate to message me. I appreciate the messages and helping people. That's why I have this group and started it, was because I like helping people and I like teaching things that I learned, and I like hearing input from you guys. So don't ever figure, oh, I don't want to bother her because I'm up crocheting at 10 or 11 o'clock at night, because my phone's in the living room. So you're not going to wake me up if I happen to be sleeping. Message me, and if you're uncomfortable, ask in the group, and I will answer over in the main group or here. It doesn't matter. Just find me and ask. All right, guys. That will give you your first section to start this. So you need your math, and you need to figure out what your gauge is, and then we will go from there. The size that I will be showing, like I said, is going to be like a 34-inch bust, and I will be getting measurements for that and showing that as well next time. So thank you guys for joining me. I hope that y'all enjoy this. Get your gauge swatch worked up, see how many stitches you get in 2 inches and how many rows, and see if you can kind of get the squarest gauge. And that is going to depend on if you are a yanker, lift, or rider. That is going to depend on the yarn that you want to use. Some people want to use DK weight for this. Some are using Aran weight. One lady mentioned using sock yarn. So it's all going to depend on that, what you want to use as your weight of yarn. I want this to be adaptable. Also, as far as your cuffs that go around the neckline here, that button, we're going to call that a button ribbing. There's going to be so many options for this. Once you have this done, you can do something in a small mosaic, because you already have the 2 colors if you're using stripes. So you can just start your stripe with that dark and then work the light, or vice versa, and have a small design in there that's mosaic around it, that's only about 6 stitches wide. Would be about 2 inches. So that would give you a little bit of a 2-inch on each side. So that would give you like 4 inches there. You don't have to add anything. You can, there's so many options for this. It's just, it's a lot. So like I said, I'm open to suggestions. I'd like to hear what you guys have to say. Input. If you guys change it up a little bit and say, I did this and I really liked it, let me know. Show that off in here. This isn't about, this is so standard that we're sticking to this pattern and this is it. This is about adapting and making this yours. I want you guys to want to wear it. I don't want you to make what I make and be like, oh, I hate this, but I want to make it so I know how to do it in this color only, or I want to change this. So, this is open. This is more of like an open tea cow, where we're going to be showing you what you need and the how-tos, and then you guys will be working yours from there based on what you want. Not everybody wants purple and black striped one like my granddaughter does. So, work with it. Figure out what you guys want. Let me know what changes you made. Let me know if there's something you're looking for or you want to change that I haven't mentioned. And I will see you guys back here. I'm hoping Monday. Once we get into the weekend, I will do another post that talks about what my week looks like next week and when I can do another live. But I want to do one fairly soon so that you guys can decide on what you want as far as your cardigan, and you have your math together. So once you have your math and you kind of drew your picture out and whatever else, and share those, and let me know what you guys want to do, and we'll come back Monday and we'll talk about how to get started with this. So thank you guys for joining me, and I hope that you download the paper pattern information and can get that done. And I look forward to seeing what you guys come up with. And thank you again for joining me, and I will see you guys on Monday.